Most people believe that becoming rich is about luck, connections, or working themselves into exhaustion. But here's the uncomfortable truth. If hard work alone created wealth, construction workers and nurses would dominate the billionaire lists. Something else is at play, something invisible but incredibly powerful. There's a pattern hiding in plain sight. Certain people climb out of financial struggle, build fortunes from nothing, lose everything, and then build it all back again. Not once, multiple times. That pattern isn't talent. It isn't education. And it definitely isn't luck. It's the way they think. One of the clearest real-world examples is Beat Shillette, a woman who went from financial crisis and single motherhood to building a company valuable enough to sell into the business ecosystem of Bill Gates. But her story isn't just about money. It's about the mental shifts that made that outcome possible. And once you see those shifts, you can't unsee them. Because the real barrier between most people and financial freedom isn't opportunity. It's invisible rules they don't even realize they're following. But that was only the beginning. When you're struggling financially, your brain goes into survival mode. Every decision becomes about safety, stability, avoiding loss. On the surface, that sounds responsible. But over time, it quietly becomes a prison. Shillette has spoken about periods when everything felt uncertain. Raising a child, building a business, facing bills that didn't care whether the company succeeded or not. In those moments, most people retreat into caution. They stop experimenting. They stop risking. They focus only on not falling further behind. Ironically, that's exactly what keeps them stuck. Psychologists call this loss aversion, the tendency to fear losses more than we value gains. It's why people hold onto failing investments, stay in dead-end jobs, or postpone opportunities until they feel safe. But wealth rarely grows in safe zones. It grows in calculated discomfort. The people who eventually break through don't eliminate fear. They just stop letting fear make decisions. And what they do next looks reckless to everyone else. From childhood, most of us are handed a script. Study hard, get a stable job, avoid mistakes, save what you can, and someday things will work out. It sounds reasonable, sensible, responsible. It's also designed for security, not freedom. Shillette didn't follow that script. Not because she was reckless, but because reality forced her to improvise. Building a business from nothing requires decisions without guarantees. Hiring people before you feel ready. Investing money you can't afford to lose. Betting on ideas that haven't proven themselves yet. To outsiders, it looks risky. To entrepreneurs, it's Tuesday. Here's the paradox. The biggest long-term risk is often refusing to take any short-term risks at all. Skills stagnate. Income caps out. Opportunities pass quietly by. Years turn into decades, and suddenly someday never arrived. And by the time many people realize it, the window feels smaller. But some individuals escape that timeline entirely. Listen carefully to how highly successful people talk about setbacks. They rarely frame themselves as victims of circumstances. Even when external factors clearly played a role, they redirect the focus inward. What could I have done differently? What can I do now? This isn't about self-blame. It's about control. When you blame the economy, your boss, your background, or bad luck, you hand over your power to forces you can't influence. When you accept responsibility, you immediately regain leverage, because your actions become the variable that can change outcomes. Shillette often emphasizes this distinction. Responsibility isn't a burden, it's permission to act. And the moment you adopt that mindset, your behavior shifts automatically. Instead of waiting for better conditions, you start creating them. Instead of hoping someone will notice your potential, you build proof that they can't ignore. But responsibility alone isn't enough, because even highly driven people can still trap themselves in short-term thinking. Most financial decisions people make are optimized for the next bill, the next paycheck, or the next year at most. Wealth builders operate on a completely different timeline. They think in decades. Every skill learned, every connection formed, every asset built compounds over time, just like interest in a bank account, except far more powerful. A single valuable skill can multiply income for the rest of your life. One strategic relationship can open doors for decades. This is why investors like Warren Buffett emphasize patience so relentlessly. The real magic isn't dramatic breakthroughs, it's sustained accumulation. But long-term thinking comes with a psychological cost, delayed gratification. You invest effort now without immediate rewards. You say no to short-term comfort for long-term freedom. And in a culture built on instant results, that can feel almost unnatural. Yet those who master this trade-off often end up playing an entirely different game than everyone else. And the next distinction explains why. Modern culture celebrates visible success, luxury items, flashy lifestyles, constant upgrades. But many high earners quietly struggle financially because their spending grows as fast as their income. Shalette highlights a crucial shift, seeing money not as a tool for status, but as fuel for growth. Wealth builders prioritize assets over appearances, skills over symbols, ownership over consumption. They're willing to look ordinary while building something extraordinary behind the scenes. It's not deprivation, it's strategy. Every dollar can either maintain your current life or expand your future options. Over time, those choices compound dramatically. Two people earning the same salary can end up in completely different financial realities based on where their money flows. But even smart decisions can stall if you're surrounded by the wrong influences. Your social circle quietly shapes your expectations. If everyone around you complains about money, avoids risks, and dismisses ambition as unrealistic, those attitudes start to feel normal. On the other hand, spending time with driven, solution-oriented people raises your standards automatically. Conversations shift from problems to possibilities, from limitations to strategies, from why me to what's next. Shalette frequently speaks about the importance of intentional environments, masterminds, professional networks, growth-focused communities. Not because success is exclusive, but because mindset is contagious. Human beings calibrate their behavior to match the tribe. Change the tribe, and your baseline changes too. But there's one final barrier that stops many capable people from ever capitalizing on better environments or better ideas. Waiting until you feel ready is one of the most expensive habits a person can have. Successful entrepreneurs launch before certainty. They test ideas publicly. They make mistakes in real time and adjust quickly. Progress comes from iteration, not flawless planning. Perfectionism often disguises itself as high standards, but underneath, it's usually fear of judgment, failure, or irreversible decisions. Ironically, avoiding action guarantees the one outcome people fear most: stagnation. Shalette's philosophy is simple but powerful. Clarity comes from movement, not the other way around. Once you start acting, feedback appears. Opportunities emerge. Confidence builds from evidence, not imagination. And suddenly, paths that looked impossible begin to look inevitable. Here's the part most advice skips. Wealth is rarely created by doing a few things differently. It's created by becoming someone different. Different habits, different tolerance for discomfort, different standards for how time is spent, different beliefs about what's possible. Money doesn't transform people nearly as much as people transform themselves on the path to earning it. By the time major success arrives, the internal change has already happened. The discipline, resilience, and strategic thinking were built long before the bank account reflected them. That's why some people can lose fortunes and rebuild them, while others struggle to create stability even once. Because one group changed circumstances, the other changed identity. If there's one idea to take away from all of this, it's not work harder or take bigger risks. It's far simpler and far more challenging. Pay attention to the invisible rules guiding your decisions. The assumptions about money, success, safety, and possibility that you absorbed without questioning. Those rules determine your ceiling long before external limits ever do. The people who break through aren't superhuman. They just rewrite the script. So, ask yourself one honest question. What belief has been quietly shaping my life without my permission? Because 5 years from now, you'll arrive somewhere no matter what you do. The only uncertainty is whether that place was chosen intentionally or reached by default. If this video made you think differently, don't let that spark fade. Subscribe and turn on notifications, because the next ideas you expose your mind to may shape the next version of your life. And if one part of this resonated with you, share it with someone who needs to hear it too. You never know which conversation changes a trajectory. Your future isn't built in one dramatic moment. It's built in small decisions repeated daily. So choose carefully, because the person you become is already being formed by what you do next.